at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel. Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel.
Well, after the short detour we just had, welcome back to the Resident Evil series with Resident Evil Afterlife. Which, do you think it's some kind of message that even the makers of this series think it's already dead? Let's find out, and take a look at the continuing adventures of our superpowered one-woman clone army. This is Resident Evil Afterlife. The movie begins with a very arty shot of Shibuya Crossing in Tokyo as people go about their daily lives. And I see the umbrellas, I get what you did there, very clever. But there is one person without an umbrella, and after some time of her standing in the rain, she decides to attack the first person she sees, cause turns out she's a zombie. And that was when the pandemic had first begun, way back to a time shortly after the second film, when the infection started spreading. We then get the customary Alice narration.
My name is Alice. I worked for the Umbrella Corporation in a secret laboratory developing experimental viral weaponry.
Does she have to start all her narration that way? She didn't do it in the last film, but she still has a strong propensity to saying that phrase. Would she do that in daily life? My name is Alice. I worked for the Umbrella Corporation in a secret laboratory developing experimental viral weaponry. 1 carton of milk, dozen eggs, loaf of bread, and orange juice. We move back to Shibuya Crossing 4 years later, now a zombie wasteland, as a zombie is taken out by a sniper. Ha! Did you see the rifle that guy was using? He's using a .50 caliber sniper rifle. That zombie's head should have exploded with the bullet continuing to take out parts of the car behind her. And silencing one of those? Yeah, you're having a laugh. Overlooking the fact that there's no silencer on it anyway. It's never a good sign when I bitch so much about such a little thing. But it's pretty irrelevant as the snipers are suddenly killed by unknown assailants. And then we pan down the digital map of the underground Umbrella base, cause they love doing that. The troops in the base are mobilizing to take out the threat, with Albert Wesker wanting to know what's going on.
Sir, a half hour ago, we began to lose contact with some of our perimeter sentries.
How many have we lost?
All of them.
And you waited 30 minutes to tell me.
Jesus, someone's trying really fucking hard to maintain their I'm an evil badass voice. The guards continue to get killed, with the base being infiltrated from the elevator as Wesker orders all security to the main entrance. They get ready to fire on whatever comes from the elevator, but when it opens, Alice attacks from behind. Can you tell this film was capitalizing on the 3D craze? I know, it's completely seamless, isn't it? So Alice starts slicing the guys, and seriously, watching this scene, would you honestly be able to tell it's a Resident Evil film? Really? And the constant slow-mo is just obnoxious. But then Alice is caught by a hell of a lot more guards, but she just uses her psychic powers and takes them all out instantly. Alice might be a bit OP now. However, despite being insanely overly badass, she still can't protect against being riddled with bullets.
Hey boys, is that any way to treat a lady?
She doesn't sound too upset at her clone being killed, so I guess them dying pointlessly in the last film gets her pissed. But them dying because of her own crusade against Umbrella, that's fine. Wesker, not doing anything by half measures, orders the chambers where the Alices are filled with nerve gas.
Sir, our men are still up there.
Any more questions?
Yeah, why'd you shoot that guy for saying it's stupid to kill your own troops? That was a bit fucking extreme to say the least. How does Umbrella have any employees left, with everyone being killed because of minor objections, psychopath computers, and casual mishandling of deadly bioweapons? The Alices are still slicing up the security guys, and they get trapped behind pillars in no way similar to the Matrix lobby scene. and throwing grenades, they run for the window, shooting the bad guys anyway, making the grenades kinda pointless, and then jump through the window for some more 3D bait. The Alices fall towards where Wesker is, throwing the flimsiest looking grappling hooks I've ever seen, and on the way down, one of the Alices is killed by Wesker, but the other makes it down, removing the grappling hook, hitting the floor without any kind of deceleration, which honestly makes it seem like it did nothing at all. There's more shooting of guards, with Wesker managing to kill that Alice while more shoot up the place. Wesker kicks the body over, but unfortunately for him, she's holding grenades which explode in Wesker's face, destroying the control center and disrupting the entire base. But Wesker is ridiculously resilient to death, as will be evident throughout the film, and he just casually catches a ride on a helicopter and sets the base to self-destruct, which explodes in an insanely massive energy wave, taking out most of Tokyo, but also eliminating Alice's clone army. Hey, it's almost like they needed an extreme and ridiculous way of getting rid of all those clones extra quick. Because they realised they wrote themselves into a corner, and the clones would kinda hamper the whole struggling through the apocalypse thing. Nah! That would only be the case if the writer was completely incompetent and had no idea how to write a compelling story. But fortunately for the plot, the original Alice had the foresight to jump on the helicopter too and holds Wesker at gunpoint, which he swiftly injects her with something that does this.
What have you done?
The serum I've injected you with is neutralizing the T cells within your body. Put simply, the Umbrella Corporation is taking back its property.
I love the fact that those so-called T-cells are actually little capital T's. That's so stupid, it's actually hilarious. But boy is this movie backtracking on everything incongruous to a zombie survival film. Almost like they shouldn't really have been there at all. They continue to fight with Wesker having a big upper hand as he's superpowered, but as he goes to kill Alice, she distracts him long enough for the helicopter to crash, which goes all Uber Matrix style, stopping at the point of impact. And then finally it hits the ground, but guess what? Alice somehow survived that catastrophic crash. Which is complete bullshit, because powers or not, if a bullet can kill her, then that crash would have annihilated her. I mean, for fuck's sake, the entire helicopter was ripped to burning shreds. Not to mention the whole engulfed in flames thing. 6 months later, after surviving the crash, Alice somehow managed to survive getting down the freezing mountain through zombie-infested territories and found herself a plane to fly. No explanation of how, of course. I think it's just taken as read that she's a badass, don't question it. Alice is flying around looking for Arcadia, the place Claire and the other people flew to at the end of the last film, because the film suddenly gives a shit about people other than Alice now. She lands the plane where she thinks Arcadia is and finds an aircraft graveyard, presumably of all the people who flew to find the place. She reaches the coast, finding the same helicopter Claire took, but no one is around. She finds the notebook about Arcadia in the cockpit, and she does her vlogging thing on the situation, getting spooked by someone or something sneaking around, chasing after them. Back at the graveyard, she readies her guns, which it might have been a good idea to actually load them first. And then she's jumped from behind by a knife-wielding person. But she manages to push her off and knock her out, only to reveal her to be Claire, as she has a mechanical device on her chest. Well, fuck. Looks like they've started taking stupid plot points from Resident Evil 5. Otherwise known as reaching for the bottom of the barrel. And why Resident Evil 5? Because they somehow completely exhausted decades of material from much better games? That night, Alice has set up camp and has tied up Claire for protection. And guess what she has?
I have amnesia!
Yep, amnesia once again. And after that, Alice is flying off with Claire to where even Alice doesn't really know. And flying over Los Angeles, the plane is spotted by survivors who are on top of a prison, and outside, the streets are shoulder to shoulder filled with zombies, all kept back by the walls of the prison. Now, I don't care how strong your walls are or what they're made of. If you have that many people, eventually it's going down. The sheer pushing power alone of a crowd that size would crumble the place to rubble. Alice flies dangerously close to the prison to let them know she's going to make a suicidal landing on the roof. They quickly start getting everything out of the way as the soldier guy gets a cable ready to stop the plane from falling, which he barely manages to get in place before Alice hits it as the plane smashes through the wall. But at least the propellers are completely undamaged by the landing. I guess movie props are just more sturdy nowadays. Alice and Claire get out meeting the survivors, although we only learn Luther's name, I guess the rest don't matter. They get talking and start asking Alice if she's from Arcadia, but she has to tell them the bad news, and then we get the soldier guy's name of Angel. We get more story on Luther as Alice recognises him as he was a famous sports player and watch spokesman. But enough about that. We also get the lowdown on Arcadia as the survivors have been trying to contact them launching flares, because Arcadia isn't in Alaska, it's actually a ship off the coast. However, the broadcast the Arcadia was sending 2 days ago stopped for unknown reasons. But speaking with Claire, she starts to remember some men picking them up on the beach, but nothing more. That night we get acquainted with the compound and everyone in it, like the only other woman who was an actress and the douchebag movie producer who will be the weak link in the group. And the actress tells Alice that although there's not much hope, there is someone who can help them find a way out of the prison, which Luther takes Alice down to see.
When the shit hit the fan, we took refuge in the prison. Seemed like it had the biggest, strongest walls. Best chance of keeping those things out. By the time we got here, the guards and the inmates were already long gone. I guess when people started eating one another, there wasn't much point in keeping anybody locked up.
So hold on. They've been holed up in that prison since the outbreak started? Do you mean to tell me that they've been in there for more than 5 fucking years? And what the hell happened to the whole cursed Earth shit? From what I can see, the Earth's looking pretty damn verdant. Oh, I see. So it looks like they're removing everything from extinction in this movie. Anyway, Alice speaks with the only prisoner left in the prison locked in a solitary confinement cell. And he's the only one who knows how to get out of this here prison. And of course it's fucking Wentworth Miller. Let's hope he's got coded tattoos so he can be exactly like his Prison Break character. Fuck me. He tells Alice that he shouldn't be in there and he's innocent and blah blah, it wasn't him, it was the one-armed man and they need to let him out. He also says that it was the prisoners who put him in there when the shit hit the fan and they were set free. So again, has he been in there for more than 5 fucking years? Good God, Anderson, if you can't keep up with continuity, just don't fucking bother. And after the tour, Alice inspects her vast amount of weaponry, which she managed to salvage from the helicopter crash, I guess, and she starts stacking coins for a later fucking stupid action moment. But looks like this safe haven won't be safe for long, as the massive crowd of zombies have managed to dig underground and into the prison. But come on, breaking down the main gate should have been a no-brainer. Oh wait, never mind. And on the streets we see another thing lifted directly from Resident Evil 5, the Executioner, or Axeman as he's credited here. And he makes no fucking sense. Let me explain what I mean. In the game, Axeman was created by people to be an executioner in an African village taken over by a zombie-like parasite called the Magini. So why is he here? Who created him? Or are we supposed to believe that a zombie just got really big and decided to put metal all over himself and then make a fuck-off massive axe? Because remember, in this universe, there should only be the T-virus. None of this parasite shit. So it simply makes no sense at all. The next day, Luther shows Alice to the shower room, which you'd think it was for a hot, steamy shower scene, but Alice hears a noise and upon investigation, finds one of the guys trying to get a pervy peek. Hey, that's not right, man. You shouldn't be sneaking around the showers trying to get a glimpse of Mila Jovovich naked. You should just watch the previous Resident Evil films. Seriously, there's more than enough there instead. It's kind of a strange incongruity, where Alice is chastising a guy for trying to see her naked, when Mila Jovovich once referred to her nipple appearing on screen, saying that it proved her dedication to the film. To which director and her husband, Paul W.S. Anderson, added, if she was truly dedicated, she would have shown both nipples. To which she did in the second film. Kinda hypocritical, one might say. And then, quick as a flash, zombies attack. Hold on, those are the Magini, or Las Plagas. They have nothing to do with the T-virus, and were dug up in Spain prior to the events of Resident Evil 4, which didn't happen in this universe. For fuck's sake. Fuck you, Anderson, and your shitty non-writing, throwing shit at a wall and see what sticks style. So yeah, this crap continues with the guy dying and Alice shooting the other zombie, but one gets away down the hole again. The rest of them inspect the hole with the douchebag wanting to take Alice's plane, but Alice makes them release Wentworth Miller. Oh, did I mention he's also Chris Redfield? I guess I forgot, because like his sister, it's really pretty much irrelevant at this point. But they do get a reunion as he recognises Claire, but because of her
I have amnesia!
She doesn't. And in the games, Claire is constantly looking for Chris, but as she's never mentioned him, it's really not that big of a reveal, and the whole thing is a lackluster reunion. Outside, Chris tells them his way of getting out, which is a tank essentially that will hold them all and have enough power to get through the zombie horde. The only problem is, it's locked behind the garage door, which they'll need to cut open to get inside. He also tells them that there's a big stockpile of guns in the prison they can also use to get out with, which is lucky because Axeboy has started smacking on the gate with his looking pretty weightless and prop-like axe. Let me repeat myself. More than 5 years. How have they been in the prison that long and not explored every single nook and cranny of the place? The garage is right outside the main door, for God's sake. Look, I know I keep bringing up the time difference thing, but it's such a massive discontinuity that it needs to be stated several times just to get your head round the complete incompetence at work here. But back to the film. Chris shows Alice that the armory is beneath 2 floors of water, and the actress appears to lend a helping hand. But let's be honest, between her, Alice, and Chris fucking Redfield, she's gonna die. She's the red shirt of this operation. They swim through as the walls start breaking open with zombies. They make it to the armory, but what did I say would happen? Yep, she's dead. That's it. She gets grabbed and then out of the movie. Would be nice if they pretended to give a shit about secondary characters. But anyway, Alice and Chris get inside the armory, which is filled to bursting with guns. Seriously, 5 fucking years they've been there. You know what? Fuck it. Outside, the other group managed to get the door cut open and find the APC inside. There's only one problem. The engine isn't inside it. I guess they really should have let Chris out a lot sooner. And then the douchebag does what's expected of him and shoots the soldier. For what reason? I have no fucking clue. The only thing he did was say don't take the plane, as there are other options to consider first. It's more than likely because in these kinds of survival situations in movies, there's always that one douchebag who fucks it up for everyone else because he's a selfish arsehole. But in this case, he went from mild annoyance to straight up shooting people in the back of the head without any build-up whatsoever. Because that takes the least amount of effort, apparently. In the courtyard, the zombies and Axeman have finally managed to break the gate down and begin flooding in. Alice and Chris get out of the armory and hear the plane starting up, obviously flown by the douchebag. Everyone gets to the roof to try and stop him, but he just shoots at them long enough to fly away. Does he realise that if they escape the prison, they'll be going to the Arcadia too? There's very few ways that could go well for him. And now all the zombies have reached the roof and the shooting begins. They all get into the elevator as Alice throws a bomb at the cables to cause another slow-motion explosion, as the elevator drops, slamming into the water below, which would have probably turned the elevator into a tiny crushed cube, but everyone is actually fine. On the roof, Alice throws the explosives and then jumps off for another slow-motion moment in a ridiculous Mission Impossible-style stunt with the cable as she lands on the ground to shoot some more zombies. Now, this is Alice without her superpowers, right? No wonder she was the fucking road warrior. Alice runs to get inside with more fucking slow-mo, gotta make the most of that 3D, and then she shoots her shotguns, which are actually filled with those coins we saw her stacking, which wouldn't fit in the shotgun barrel, but details don't matter. Just more slow-mo. They get to the showers to use the tunnel the zombies dug to get out. Chris goes in first, and then it's the Asian guy's turn. I wonder why I can't remember his name.
Let's go!
Ah, that would be why. And how the fuck did that brick shithouse manage to sneak up on him like that? Are they deaf? So the big eye-pleaser trailer bait fight begins, with Alice punching and kicking him, but then getting knocked out by the guy's axe. Claire starts shooting, which just pisses him off, chasing her. She does a backflip, in slow-mo of course, and then they run at each other with Claire sliding underneath and firing the shotgun, taking him down. But a boss fight can't end like that. No, Alice has to have the killing blow. That's the rule. So he gets up by throwing his axe at Alice and Claire, which certainly gives the 3D crowd their money's worth, even if it looks cheesy as all hell. But then Alice just blows the big fucker's head off, which made it seem like she should have done that at the start, really. That entire action scene was so incredibly meh. And you know it was geared toward eye candy for the trailer and shit. But there was no substance there, just flash. And overall, very dull to watch. Alice and Claire go through the tunnel to catch up with Chris, and they find Luther waiting for them. They make it out the other side, but it's time for another grab off screen, as Luther is grabbed from behind, closing the tunnel. So I guess he's dead then. They get on board the Arcadia, which is strangely deserted. They do find that the douchebag managed to crash land on the deck though, and inside the ship they find a massive door which reveals a big umbrella logo. Yeah, they do love their branding. And Claire remembers the umbrella guys taking them using those beetle things. The door opens to a giant white room and Alice figures out that everybody taken is underneath the floor in stasis.
They're holding survivors to experiment on them.
Okay, I'll play your little game. Why? Why take the last few survivors on the fucking planet to experiment on them? What is there to gain from that exactly? The world is fucked, so it's sure as hell not for profit. And they don't seem to give a shit about the outbreak, so it's not to find a cure either. Oh wait. Ah, here you go. It says it right here. Umbrella is evil, don't question it, arsehole. Well, that's just rude. They raise up all the stasis chambers and manage to find Ashley from Resident Evil 4 and get her out. Then Alice sees one of the chambers is covered in blood. Wait, did they just this second die and get dragged off? Because that room was fucking spotless before, so it must have just happened. Alice continues to look through the ship, finding the Umbrella vehicles and the self-destruct device for a good old Chekhov's gun. And going further into the place, Alice finds dead bodies, and who else? Why, it's Wesker, of course, and then zombie dogs, because we can't have one of these films without those. And Alice is disarmed by the douchebag, who I guess is working for Wesker now, and looking like shit too. Wesker goes on to explain that the T-virus in his system was enough to revive him, but it's starting to take over. And just get this, because this is the best part. The crew of the Arcadia abandoned ship because Wesker was eating them. Yeah, he needs fresh DNA to keep the virus in check, but it's only temporary. So he thinks if he eats Alice, who bonded with the T-virus, that'll bring it under control. But Alice isn't keen on being eaten, which you'd think 3 movies of killing zombies would have proved that. Kicking knives at Wesker and knocking the douchebag down. Then the dogs attack by splitting open. And I love the fact that every time zombie dogs have appeared in these films, all the trivia sites are like, those are real dogs made up to look zombified. Yeah, they can't say that anymore now, can they? Mainly because they look fake as hell. The Redfields show up behind Wesker, somehow getting in the room without opening the same door Alice did.
Chris and Claire Redfield. You've really become quite an inconvenience for me.
How have they been an inconvenience to Wesker exactly? They've never fucking met him. And that jail cell Chris has been in for the last 5 years? Oh yeah, very inconvenient. Is someone mixing up the video games characters with the movies characters? Yeah, because Chris Redfield and Wesker have a long history together. In the games, that is. In the movies, they have nothing to do with each other. So that line makes no sense.
I told you I'd be bringing a few friends.
You should have brought more.
Look out, Chris! Wesker's thrown his deadly sunglasses at you! Look out! No! Oh wait, they're just sunglasses. The fuck was that? And then there's a fight between the Redfields and Wesker, emulating the scene in Resident Evil 5 where it was Chris and Jill fighting him. And Wesker is the one now apparently too. I guess the trench coat was a dead giveaway. Wesker defeats the Redfields by throwing them in some stasis tubes, and at the same time Alice is fighting the dogs, shooting one and then somehow kicking a piece of glass at the other. Again, this is super powerless Alice, right? The douchebag stabs her in the arm, and then Wesker does whatever the fuck that is. But Alice just stabs him in the head, which stops him for like a second as he gets up again. And then Ashley from Resident Evil 4 appears to hit the douchebag. How are these people getting in that room undetected? And then Alice finally shoots Wesker in the head, killing him. Oh wait, no, he's still kicking. So the Redfields proceed to shoot the ever-loving fuck out of him. And then lock the douchebag in with the corpse. But guess what? He's still not dead. We are watching the concept made manifest of taking the fucking piss. So yeah, once again, Wesker takes a helicopter ride out of the place as he sets the ship to self-destruct, which would kill feasibly the last survivors of the human race, but Umbrella doesn't give a shit about that. However, luckily, Alice managed to place the self-destruct device on the exact helicopter Wesker chose to take, which could have got pretty embarrassing if he took the wrong one. But guess what? He's still not fucking dead, and will be back in the goddamn sequel. What the fuck, Anderson? If you want an OP bad guy, at least make it believable. And the movie ends with everyone on the Arcadia happy to be safe, and Alice sending out a new broadcast saying Arcadia is a safe haven, for real this time. But there needs to be sequel bait, so there's a massive squadron of Umbrella helicopters flying towards the Arcadia to attack it, because they really hate losing test subjects, I guess. Oh, and Luther is actually alive in the sewers, yay for that. So that was Resident Evil Afterlife. Oh wait, there's actually a bit more. As there's a mid-credits scene of the leader of the Umbrella guys, and it's none other than Jill Valentine, now blonde and looking like a dominatrix for some reason, with one of those beetles on her chest. Actually, that's a good point. Jill is blonde now, and Alice is brunette. Did they switch hair colours for some reason? And unless all of Alice's clones in the last movie were using hair dye, then Alice is actually dyeing her hair brunette. Why? It's not a big deal. It's simply the last straw. Resident Evil Afterlife, everybody. What the hell happened to this series? So much of this movie makes no fucking sense whatsoever, with enemies lifted from the games that have no place being here. The entire movie seems to completely forget about Extinction and the fact that it took place 5 years after Apocalypse. And it's just swathes of bullshit, linking action scenes that really aren't that entertaining to begin with. This film is at odds with trying to be true to the film series while shoving in crap from the games to keep gamers watching, and they simply don't mix. Resident Evil Afterlife? Yeah, this film is definitely dead on its feet. And stop doing the fake out Wesker death for fuck's sake! So we've only got one more Resident Evil movie to go, and if you think Afterlife was a nonsensical mess of action and gibberish, wait till we get to Retribution. And yeah, the old RE word subtitle. Keep it classy, Resident Evil. See you next time.